Well, that sucks. I didn't clock out for lunch, so... Hey, I hope this mic is working. If not, my voice is projecting that way and my microphone is behind me, but it's cool. I have to make this video. I told myself that I was going to keep up with this channel last year, and then guess what I didn't do? I didn't keep up with the channel last year, so I'm going to do that this year. The first video I want to make this year is in, like, shout out to... my past year self, which was me making a game. I really thought I could make a whole game last year. I really thought I could just dive deep into Godot, is that what it's called? And really just make a big old game. I was, you guessed it, wrong. So instead, I've dabbled into Pygame. And I wanted to show you the game that I made. It is... Look, I'm not even going to say anything about it because my husband says I need to stop doing it. He says I need to stop putting myself down. So I'm just going to show you the game. And I am quite proud of it because, one, last year, I'm going to be honest with you, I was using a lot of ChatGPT to build my game. And I wasn't understanding any of it, any of the logic, none of the stuff. So I'm actually super excited to show you everything that I've been working on. I'm going to pull out my laptop. Yeah, you think I'm working on my Mac? I'm not. Mainly because this is portable. So this is the laptop I've been using, the Asus VivoBook. Look at her, she's amazing, she's beautiful. I've been using her for school, and I started a programming class, I think last year, and I decided, you know, I want to build something. I want to make something. I did start making an app using Flutter also, but that is way too big of a project. The theme here is that I don't understand that I need to chunk it down. Essentially start with like a little app and then a big app, a little game, and then a big game so that you can start to understand concepts. So that's what I started doing this year. And over the course of a month, I've actually finished a game. It's quite exciting. And I want to go through and show you essentially everything that I've made, the lines of code that I use, and also just kind of break it down so that really more than anything it's beneficial to me. I am still using ChatGPT. I am also using my coding book that I have over there to kind of explain the basics. The way that I've been using ChatGPT is I've been making it break down every line of code to me and what it is its function and what it is it's doing and why we are placing it there. So that's what I've been using it for. And so far, let me see if I can screen record. The problem is I have to go back to work. That's the issue. I'll have to pick this up at some point. Okay, so what I did right now, I just started my screen record. That is so crazy. What the heck just happened here? Okay, so on my screen, what we're seeing right now is... Ooh, this isn't even the thing that I wanted to show you. That's me trying to open the app that I messed up. Excuse me. File. I have to blur all this stuff out because I don't want you to see my stuff. Where is David Game? That doesn't look right. Open folder. There we go. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. Here we go. The outline of my game. It is only 104 lines of code, but I think what I want to do is basically go over the code first, and then I'll show you the reveal at the end, but I do got to get back to work, so we'll be back in this spot here. Well, after work, essentially. Thanks! Okay, now before we got so rudely interrupted, I still have my laptop over there. I did change the angle a little bit. My thing keeps moving and I don't understand why, but it's fine. This mic doesn't work, so let's just take that off. There's a whole bunch of echo, but here's the deal. I can't slack anymore. Okay, I cannot make excuses to not make videos on this channel because I keep telling myself that I'm gonna pick it back up and then I don't. So we're gonna do it. this is the book that I've been using. I feel like this was in my last video that I had made regarding coding. I've made some notes on it. I have some sticky notes. There is a whole like Pygame. It just basically teaches you different types of coding. It has like HTML, Python, JavaScript, and it might be geared towards children, probably middle school to high school age, but I do not care. I need pictures, I need an explanation, I need colors, I need some sort of structure. And then every single thing has also some sort of project that you can work on to learn. Sorry, I thought my screen was freaking out for a second, but let me show you. So like in this one, you can make a game. It's called Knight's Quest, and then it has everything that you need to make it, and it has the resources where you can download them right here, and it's awesome. So far this has been very helpful. The next thing I've been doing is just writing notes about coding. This doesn't have very much, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's what I started using, and then I started writing like the lines of code for my game. It has the title of it, but since we're doing a reveal, you don't get to see it. And oh, I was recording it in here. So basically what I did, because I'm kind of crazy, is I wrote down every single line of code. I'm only up to line 23, and I think we've already established that there's like almost 200 lines of code. I'm getting there. I write down every single line of code and what the like uses for each line of code. And so I kind of wanted to go through it, at least the first 23 lines, because that's what I have so far, because I'm quite proud of myself. I feel like at one point oh no, sorry, I had to do the whole screen record here, but basically I was feeling at one point that I just wasn't really grasping any of the programming. The programming that I was learning in school was, I guess, the fundamentals and the basics, but bruh, it is so boring. At one point I was also doing, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I wonder if I still have it in my notebook here. But I was doing, I think, Harvard's, CS50, and that's actually really helpful. It's just, I wish it was segmented down instead of like this whole 3-hour long video in each section, which I understand there's a lot to go over. That's just not my drift. I also need to just actively do stuff. I'm a hands-on learner. I feel like I need to follow along. I know that there's like tutorial hell or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but you fall into like a bunch of tutorials and you don't really learn anything. So I'm trying not to get too heavy on that. I'm trying to do a lot of balance here. A lot of balance, okay? But I'm at this point where I'm finally now like looking at lines of code and I'm like, okay, I know what that's doing now. Whereas before I had no idea at all. I'm not gonna say I know every single line of code. That's why I'm writing it down so it sticks in this big old brain here. Yeah, so we're just gonna go down through the lines of code. Eventually I will stop. Oh, it's only 104 lines of code. But I think towards the bottom, I know what it does without having to write it down. But essentially the beginning of it, I didn't understand any of these imports, okay? So import Pygame imports all of the features that allow you to do anything to make the game in the program Pygame. Import sys. I don't really remember what SYS stands for, and I'm embarrassed about it, but it's okay. It serves to import. No, actually, it serves to quit the game. That's right. That's right. The other thing that I have is import math. That's line number 3. And basically, that helps with any math functions. So any math that needs to be done, it'll recognize it and pick it up. Essentially, if you don't put any of these lines of code in, it's not going to know what to do with any of the functions that you're trying to basically input and have an output for. Bruh, look at me. The last import is import random, and that's, I guess, to just import any random number at any given time. Are we following along? Kind of. And then we skip line 5, you know, to kind of like organize it. Then we've got line 6, that's Pygame init or Pygame initialize. And that's basically just turning on all the parts of Pygame. So we imported Pygame, but now what we're telling the computer to do is to basically open it up so that we can use it. Then the second line is pygame.mixer.initialize, which also turns on the sound in Pygame. So without it, you wouldn't be able to have any music. So then the next is importing a whole bunch of music to load. Pygame.mixer.music.load is actually loading the file from the assets folder over here. See sounds BG music. And then I did use a free resource online. I'll be posting that link down there because the music is awesome. And I thought I was just gonna get a song, and I got so many of them. It was awesome. The next thing is setting the volume. So pygame.mixer.music is setting the volume at 50%, which is 0.5. And then pygame.mixer.music.play is for a music loop. So I guess you could play it for as long as you wanted, but -1 makes it do an infinite loop. And I wasn't even looking at my notes for that part, because that part is kind of simple and that one's easy. But then screen equals pygame.display.set mode is basically the size of the window that we're playing on. So I'm basically telling it like, this is the screen size. All right, this is the boundaries of where we are playing. Then game state is where it kind of gets a little trickier for me. So this actually took a really long time for me to understand why it's here and how to set it. So at first you can basically run the game infinitely. There's not a basically start button at first. There's not a quit game. It just runs the game, and once you kind of hit the time limit that I've set, it just quits. Like, there's nothing else to do. So with game state or any state, basically what we're doing is setting different kinds of states. So home, and then I believe, I don't remember what the other one is called. Where did we leave off before I was so rudely interrupted? Okay, before I was so rudely interrupted by literally my job after my lunch break. I think the last thing I was talking about was the game states. So beforehand, I was having trouble finding each of the game states, but I did finally find them. Basically, that creates the first part of the game, which is like the continue playing or new game or start. I'm pretty sure for mine, it's just the start button so that you can start playing. Then the other game states that I have are game over, it looks like in line 51. And then that'll just have game over, and then I think you click on a restart button, and then the other state is playing. So that's actually the screen that will load when you're actually playing. So basically the way that I'm understanding it is that 3 different states equal 3 different screens that you're telling the computer to draw. So that would be home, playing, and game over. You're telling it what is going on at that current time, depending on like these if statements. So if the time is over and it's the end of the game, you'll get the game overload screen and the restart button. And then while playing, you'll get the playing load screen, not the playing load screen, you'll get the playing screen plus like the timer or the clock, I can't remember what it's called, and the addition going on for the keeping of the score as well. What was the other one? And then obviously the home, which is the beginning of the game. So when you click restart, it'll take you back to the home menu, which is nothing is happening. It's just the beginning of the game. And then you press the start button to start and go into the next scene or the next screen, which is the playing state. That's what it's called, timer logic. I am really bad at timer logic, but those are the next lines here. In line 62. So basically, if we're in the game state, that's when timer logic is enabled, or it starts, or it initializes. And so line 63 is basically giving you how many, I didn't write it down. I'm gonna try to explain this as best as I can. The get ticks and the start time is to keep track of how many seconds have gone by. And we're doing it in milliseconds, if that's correct in MS. And then the time left would be 60. So I believe the timer that I have going on here is for 60 seconds or a full minute. Then depending on how much time is left is what then will happen with the game. So if the time left is greater than or equal to 0, no, if the time left is less than or equal to 0, then the game is over. And that's basically the timer logic. Then the next thing is the drawing logic. So this is basically you telling the game what to put on the screen. This is split up in between the different game states. So if we're in the game state home, you've got the title, which is what will be the name of the game. I'm gonna blur it out so you don't see what it is. And then the 255, 255, 255, I believe, is the color of the text. And then the screen.blit is the placement of the title on the screen, pretty sure. Then you tell it to draw the rectangle for the start button, and it'll say start game. So you've got the start text and then rendering of the text, the rectangle, and then where you're placing the rectangle, the start button, and then screen.blit again. Okay, I'm seeing now. So basically the screen.blit is what you're actually telling what to draw. Before that is all the parameters for the thing that it's going to draw. Then we've got for the game state if it's playing. And so you've got the pygame.draw.circle. That's the main, that's the main part of the game. So that's the main thing that it's drawing. And then we put the circle position of where it's gonna start on the screen. Then the next thing is the color of the score and the text. And then the timer, the text of the timer, and then the color of it as well. And then we're telling it to draw and where to draw it for the timer and the score on the screen with the screen.blit. Then we've got the one for game over, and that game state looks like the game text, game over, the size of the game text, then the final score text. So you'll get the game over, then it'll appear with the final score. And then you're just telling it essentially where to put the game over text and the final score text when you've already set the parameters for the game over text and the final score text. I'm having to force myself to remind myself what it is that I did, and that's a good thing because that's the whole point of the video. Because like I said, now that I'm looking at it, I can actually understand kind of what is going on versus before when I wasn't really putting in a lot of the work or the effort. I had no idea what was going on when I was looking at the code. I was like, what? And then the last of it is the pygame.display update. So that's just, I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually don't know what that is. Should we look it up? Let's look it up. So pygame.display.update apparently makes all the drawing commands that I've used actually visible on the screen. So if you don't have it, it won't tell it what to do, which is crazy. So the next part is I'm going to actually show you the game that I've made, and then I'm going to figure out how to post it somewhere so that you can actually play it. And then if you have notes or anything nice to say, great. And what was the other thing I was going to say about that? Well, that's too bad because I have no idea. I was going to say Pygame display update, what that means. I guess that's pretty much it. I don't remember what I was going to say, but that is the game. I'm pretty proud of myself. Like I said beforehand, I didn't really know a lot of what was happening in my code beforehand. It is a lot more than I know, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't write it down on here because it at least got me to know the beginnings parts of the game, but it forced me to try and remember what each line of code was actually doing. And I can't believe that I have something physical, tangible that works, that somebody can go out and just basically test out for me as well. I was going to change a lot of other stuff, but I thought just keep it simple. Like a lot of the buttons and the text, I wanted to make it look cuter and much more put together. But in reality, I just needed to put something out that I could look at and be like, wow, look, I made that. So if you're sitting there thinking about any of the projects that you're trying to work on and how big they are, maybe don't start there, especially if you're a beginner just like me. Start with something small and easy, even if it's like a little tutorial that forces you to learn the code by doing it. That's what I did with this one. And it makes me feel a lot better about being able to continue to work towards maybe a slightly bigger game or adding different types of logic to this game so that it could improve and so that I could learn to be able to make a bigger game. So I hope that you enjoy my game.